What's up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 444. Look at that, triple digits of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags of the Week, where we'll be breaking down some of the current events, rumors, news, gossip, and everything else that has gone down in the world of professional wrestling in the past few days. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me, as always, is Robert DeFelice.
Hey, Tony, how we doing tonight?
Not too bad, not too bad. Things could be better, things could be worse. How about you?
I would say that's the same. Things could be better, things could be worse. But we're here, we're together, and we're just two happy little accidents.
We're two happy little accidents, as Bob Ross would say. Not happy little trees, no mistakes, or whatever like that. Just happy little accidents. Something, a mango tree, blah, blah, blah. How's everybody else doing out there? Drop a comment below. Tell us what's on your mind. Tell us your thoughts on what we say is on our minds. And if you are on a platform that you can't tell us that kind of stuff, then take a can and another can and put like a string between it. And sometimes that's apparently supposed to work, at least back in the old days. But nowadays, you can at least just hop on over to the YouTube channel. And while you're there, why don't you just hit that like button on the video? Why don't you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already? And ring that little notification bell. And then after that, or before that, you don't have to do it in any particular order. It's not like it's like defusing a bomb or something. Drop a comment. Tell us your thoughts. All that stuff. And all the stuff that we're going to be talking about here. We got a couple different hot tags. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, something like that. So plenty of things to talk about. Plenty of different things to talk about. Those are words.
Accident, Tony.
Happy accidents. All these trees in my mouth. I didn't even have any broccoli earlier, so. It's 10:50 p.m. A long day here and there.
It's been a long week. It's been a long month. Yeah. It's only the 5th day.
2020 is a long time. 2020 is like, that's how many months are in 2020.
Yeah.
But let's start off with a hot tag that we normally do that I can't really do this week, which is let's talk about what they added to the WWE Network, which was Break It Down, R-Truth, and the Sting, the Lost Tapes. Is that what it was? Or the Lost Match? Or I don't even have it written down, actually. It just says Sting thing.
It's the Lost Tape.
The Lost Tape. So I didn't watch either of these. You had a chance to watch the Sting one, not the R-Truth one, right?
Correct.
I'm assuming words. I'm assuming that the R-Truth one is basically the same as the other ones, where it's just sort of, yeah, I had this part of my career and this happened and whatever. It's like 15 minutes, so I'll watch it at some point, see it or skip it, depending on whether or not you're really super into an extra little bit of R-Truth. But what about the Sting thing? Sting and the Thing.
So the Lost Tape of Sting was like this. They were following him at Slamboree 95. He was going to do a lights out match with Big Bubba Rogers, who's the big boss man. And they're just following him, They're interviewing people candidly. Hey, what do you think about Sting? Brian Pillman gives his thoughts.
He's like, my favorite song is Desert Rose.
Well, it would be fantastic if they did. Brian Pillman's like, I really enjoy Sting. He's always there to talk to you, whether it's a personal problem or a professional problem. Macho Man's like, yeah, I owe him money and I'm never gonna pay him, and you know what? I'm never gonna pay. And then Sting shows up and he's like, I'm gonna pay you back as soon as I can. Then Buff Bagwell, which was for whatever stupid reason the candid takeaway moment for me. Buff Bagwell's like, oh hey Sting, how's it going? And Sting goes, oh this is a shoot. We're not working here. This is just a shoot. They're just following me around. And he's like, oh, I'm just here to support you because you supported me my whole career. And he's like, no, this is a shoot. You don't have to do that. You can just say whatever you want. And he's like, no, I love you. You supported me when I was a rookie. So they just move on from Bagwell. And then you see Sting. He kind of talks about how, you got to train hard and got to have the right diet. And it's not always easy being on the road. Standard wrestler talk. How I love the little stingers when they paint their face. You see Sting painting his face. He does the orange and blue. He's like, I like these colors, and I think I'm going to stick with these colors for a while because people really respond to these colors. And then he has a match with the boss man, and he wins, and that's like a 30-minute little thing. It's just a match with some backstage antics.
That seems pretty pointless. to watch unless you're like really into that era or really into Sting or something.
I'm into both, and it still for me was just like, did this really need to be a thing? Is there more? Is there more backstage stuff at WCW? Because that is the kind of shit we don't see. We don't see backstage at WCW.
Yeah, and I'd love
We're-
to see some backstage stuff. I'd love to see like Kevin Nash in a booking meeting, or
yeah.
when they're going like waiting for Hogan to come out to do the heel turn and he's backstage or something, but not just sort of like here's Sting walking around getting ready to film what their equivalent of a WWE Fallout video of a Raw YouTube channel thing would be.
Now, granted, like in 1995, as like an add-on to the Slamboree VHS, that's probably super cool because you never saw that kind of stuff. But it's 2020, and we see so much more. So I would say skip it unless you're like really like I have to watch everything Sting's ever done in my life.
Yeah, if you're out there and you're just kind of like Sting, Sting, and then like go for it. Otherwise, I'm not gonna bother with that one. That sounds kind of like a little bit of a waste of time. I think I'd even rather watch something where it was like Sting, the lost tapes, and he's just like they're filming him, and he's like, "Hey, I found these tapes." He just sort of like, I lost a bunch of tapes. I found them. It's pretty neat. This one's got this on it. This one's got that on it. It's a good day. Like a 1 minute video of him just being like, I just, I'm in the middle of quarantine. I found a couple old boxes, found some old tapes. Like, yes.
Okay.
Now I'm trying to think of something with the Lost World Jurassic Park, like the Lost Tape Sting Park or something like that. I don't know. If you have any ideas of some kind of a joke to go in that direction.
Scorpion Death Park.
Yeah, there you go. They spare no expense, I'm sure. Ethan, drop a comment below. Tell us. You're usually good with following up the things that I'm not sure about. Well, that's WWE Network stuff, but it's not the only thing we have to talk about with the WWE Network. They have changed two things about the network itself this week. One of them is that they have launched what they're calling their free tier, and with that is the return of Raw Talk. And by doing that, it seems they're also removing that promotion that they've been going on for, I think, since the very beginning of it. At the very least, pretty close to the beginning of it, which was your first month is free.
So they didn't do that from the beginning of it. So I recently discovered that I might be the only person that I know who's been paying $9.99 since February 24th, 2014. Because initially it was sign up and you're locked in for 6 months. And then they started doing like, we'll give you 3 months free. And
I remember that. That's true.
And then they did, your first month is free. And they've been doing that, I want to say, since like WrestleMania 31.
It was at least very early on. It might not quite have been around that time. It might have been
Maybe
like some
32?
random thing. Like it might have been even like Survivor Series or something like that. Like, they, whatever it was though, it's been going on for years. So it's not like it's like something that they instituted last year and they're getting rid of it. It's just kind of the norm for a while.
I'm going to be honest with you here, Tony. Good for them. I don't understand how the fuck they let that go for years.
Yeah, I kind of don't get it either because I think at this point, after a couple of years, if you were interested in buying the WWE Network and you needed that free month, I mean, you would have done it by now.
So, in response to this, they've introduced a free tier. And there's no separation. And this is something I don't like. I used a disposable email to sign up and check out the free tier. And first of all, they don't separate and tell you, okay, you're a free member, so here's what you have access to. It's just like random events will not have the lock on it. So I figured this out. It's the most recent 10 episodes of Raw and SmackDown available on the network. The most recent 4 episodes of NXT, which is odd.
That's weird.
Because NXT used to be the hook for the network. and now there's actually more episodes of Raw and SmackDown available for free. But you could argue, because NXT's a newer property on USA or whatever, I don't know. You have a year's worth of takeovers, like the previous year, and you have WrestleManias 31 through 35. Those were the key components that I could see that were available for free, outside of Raw Talk, The Bump, which is free on YouTube anyway.
Right, so that doesn't serve a purpose.
The Monday Night War documentary, which is fine because even when it was first released, it was kind of outdated. But they have stuff like that. I'm surprised they don't have, here, you have the whole Attitude Era Raw for free. Get something that would really drive subscriber numbers, because maybe there is somebody out there who would say, yeah, I'll subscribe for, all the 99 Raws for free. That'd be cool. I remember being a kid.
Or maybe
But
even just some of the older stuff that really probably at this point nobody's checking out, like WWE Countdown.
that probably is free. I don't even know.
Might be.
I haven't thought about Countdown in years.
Yeah.
So
It was a fine enough show for what it was, but
I don't know why
they
they didn't
just
continue
stopped
it.
doing it. Yeah, they did
Well,
that with a lot of
because
those things.
it's one of those series of shows. Now, if you remember, sorry for the deep dive, everybody, but the network was announced coming out of WrestleMania 27 and going into the year 2012. So, the WrestleMania Rewind show, the Monday Night War show, and Countdown, they were all 2 years old by the time we got the network anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess they just decided we won't do any more countdowns. We won't do any more WrestleMania rewinds, which I think is a mistake because those were actually good things that I think more wrestling fans would want to see.
They had to have been easy to produce too, not really costly, because it's really just people sitting down talking about things and then having clips.
Yeah,
They do that with a lot of their crap anyway.
And I thought that was a much better format. Now, I want to talk to you about who you think is going to even take advantage of this free network. I have a theory, and I can't take full credit for it. I was on a stream with Sean Ross Sapp, and he said the idea of the casual fan is a myth. And it opened my eyes because I'm like, you know what? Yeah. Anybody who is a fan to a certain degree is going to follow up in some way, except children. Children are the only fans I can think of who might only watch Raw and not follow through via social media because they don't have it, or might, only watch on YouTube. And they're the only fans I can think of who would take advantage of a free network subscription because they can say, Mom, Dad, you don't even have to pay for this. And then that's how you hook, you've made a lifelong fan. Because that's the only casual fan I can think of. Because any reasonable adult not named Tony Mango would just pay the $9.99 if you're really that big of a wrestling fan.
The thing is, though, the casual fan thing is weird. Is it casual when it comes to somebody who just kind of flips on the TV every once in a while when it's Raw, or is it the fan who used to be a fan who doesn't want to check up on it as much anymore and wouldn't invest? Because I know plenty of people that are like that, and they're now casual fans. Yeah, that's a difference. If you want to clarify casual versus lapsed, then yeah, plenty of lapsed fans more than the casuals. Because the casuals, really, I don't think I know anybody.
Because, again, the idea of it is silly. Who do you know that is a grown-ass adult that is oh, I started watching wrestling when I was 30, and I kind of put it on every now and again? No, the only people you ever hear say, oh, wrestling, I don't look at that as much, are people who looked at it when they were kids, and now just, I'll watch it occasionally because it reminds me of when I was a kid.
Right.
The focus should be on the children.
or the people who follow the things. And like, I know plenty of people who read my site or other sites, but don't watch the shows because they want to know what's been going on, but they're like, I can't sit there and watch this crap. So it's just sort of a matter of like, okay, so apparently this guy's a champion right now. Awful, like that kind of thing.
But this is just my opinion. If you're that, even at that level, that means there's probably something on the network that you connect enough with that you might go, oh, I'll pay the $9.99 this month just to watch the Final Four.
Or the pay-per-view that's happening that month, or,
right.
You know.
I'm just saying, I don't know anybody who's like, I'm a casual fan of wrestling. I put on Raw.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who is that? Please tell me.
I don't think that there's casual fans of most things like that anymore at all, because
everything is so niche.
Everything's niche. Everything's like continuity based. Like a show that, for instance, like Caroline and I are watching and you are watching, which is Ozark. Like that show, I didn't know even existed until, I don't know, however many months ago. And we've been, watching it from episode 1. And, it was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm digging this and whatever. We start watching it. We're getting through. We're on like season 2, something or other, but at this point. And I don't think you can casually be like, yeah, I think I'll watch like season 3, episode 2. Like, that's not like that type of show. It's not like, I don't know, Bonanza or something like that from back in the day, like where people didn't really have to follow what was going on. It was a different,
but even then, you might have had to follow what was going on with Bonanza.
You might have. I'm not really sure. I didn't watch Bonanza. But but you can kind of be even like a casual fan of like Law and Order, for instance, because if you just watch an episode here and there, they're all the same. Like they follow the same kind of patterns. It's not like the continuity is really the same as watching something like Westworld, where you're like, oh my god, I paid attention to every single thing, and now I have to watch them explain it in a documentary after every episode. Like WWE is another thing like that. Like you can be more of a casual fan of baseball or football or something like that, where you watch a game every once in a while because there's no continuity behind it. With WWE, it's not just the wrestling matches, it's the storylines and it's the feuds. And if you tuned into like SmackDown tonight, you'd be like, why are these two guys hanging out in a van tormenting this giant? And it's not the same as like baseball, where you go like, oh, okay, so the Mets are winning this and the Phillies are doing this, and the Rockies have that kind of thing. Like it's easy to do that. You can't really just pop in with wrestling and understand what the hell you're watching.
The only wrestling show, ironically, I would argue can do that with is 205 Live.
Yeah, that's just because it doesn't matter. It's like, 205 Live, you'd be like, oh, 2 guys and then 2 other guys. They have a match and that's the end of it. That's what it is every week. Apparently this week it was Tahuti Miles against Oney Lorcan.
Fucking Tahuti Miles, man. I mean,
he got a win last week. He lost this week. Oney Lorcan won. And Isaiah Swerve Scott against Gentleman Jack Gallagher. And then it's like Tony Nese comes out and attacks Scott because of whatever, reasons. And then they just, that's the end of the show, basically. It's, so you can watch that casually, but then you have to subscribe to the network to watch that. So you're not going to be a casual fan because at that point you're paying $10 a month to watch the show that you don't need an investment in,
it's just like, I will never, ever understand this idea of, well, they gotta rake in the casual fans because they don't exist.
Yeah, the casual fans are the kids that drag the parents in, and the casual fans that are kids become bigger fans or don't. So it's like you can't be a casual fan for long. But I don't.
Very well said.
I don't dig the free tier in some ways. I think it's good in some other ways. To me, if I were on the fence about it, like if I were quote unquote a casual fan, that wouldn't entice me. I wouldn't look at that and say, oh, I can watch the last couple of episodes of these types of shows and like 5 WrestleManias. Okay, I'll do that. Nor would Raw Talk. I didn't even bother watching Raw Talk. Did you?
Yes, I did. Because it is my job to report on nonsensical things like, hey, we've announced a decathlon for next week.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, Street Profits and
At least it's the
Vice
right
Verdes.
feud, and it's not like
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
not
know,
like Rey
like
Mysterio set it all.
yeah, Brendan Vink randomly in a decathlon against Humberto Carrillo or
Ricochet.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, but I did watch a little bit of Raw Talk. Um, I love Charlie Caruso.
he's great.
Uh, Charlie Caruso is great. She was fantastic on Raw. Joe, as much as I like him as a commentator, I don't like that he's seemingly just gonna be a commentator. You know, like I don't like that it's starting to feel like Taz a little bit,
Mm. Is
where
he like going like a lot? Like
I mean, no, he's absolutely coherent, but he's just doing the commentary, and I'm not ready to see him go. You know,
hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully it's just them working out some kinks and you
the
know.
kink was Jerry Lawler, but that's a different thing.
Yeah. Ah. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of excited for the idea that they said Raw Talk, but your message about it actually completely snapped me out of it because it was like, "Oh, Raw Talk's back. Oh, I gotta watch it then." And then it was like,
Wait, what did I
"Ah,
said something like, "Oh, good news! We have to add this on the endless pile of content that we have to watch."
right." And I was just like, "You know what? I'm making a stance." And I've stopped watching WWE Backstage. I stopped watching The Bump, and I'm not gonna watch Raw Talk either. I'm
You
just
know,
like, you know what? Not doing it.
I think this was a big mistake to not bring back Talking Smack, which was always the superior of the two shows, because Renee Young is amazing, and I don't like that they're not doing a lot with Renee Young anymore. And maybe that's because I don't watch Backstage,
Yeah, I
but
think that that's her gig now.
that sucks.
I wouldn't be shocked at all if they do announce Talking Smack comes back.
I will say I don't know if it'll have the same vibe because Daniel Bryan's a wrestler now and not the GM. But I like Renee. She's good at her job, and I want more of Renee back on TV. I will say,
I would assume that Talking Smack, if they do come back with that, is probably going to be Kayla and somebody.
ugh,
Probably like
Tony.
Kayla and Corey.
I would do Renee and Corey, or like even Renee and Kayla. Just Renee should be on the show. Of course, that would delay the hot tags.
Well, that's depending on if the hot tags stay on Friday nights. Who knows? I mean, we somehow naturally turned this around to Fridays. Smack Talk has had this weird setup of recording days. I mean, we used to, way back in the day, do like a 1 hour show like once a week. Eventually, then it became like a 5 hour show once a week, just like one segment after another. And that was like Friday nights, I think, or something. And then it became like splitting it up into 3 days. Then it became 2 days. Then it became these days and that days. And then it was like easy to do the hot tags on Mondays, and then Wednesdays for the other things. Now it's Wednesdays and Fridays. 2020.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the punchline to everything this year. It's just 2020.
Um, I do want to say I did watch Backstage this week, which I typically don't, but this was a good one. It had Punk. It had they spoke openly about what's going on in the world, which I thought was a bold move. It had Punk and Bryan interacting for the first time since Punk left, and I thought that was really good. Like,
How did that go
uh,
down?
they spoke about how, hey, isn't it funny that I'm actually married to my wife now because you were with my wife in a storyline and then I got involved, and hey, somehow Kane was involved in that, and isn't that weird how we were all just like in the mid card? Because the Brian said this, he's like, I don't usually get mad about my placement on the card, but I was pretty mad that I'm fighting you for the WWE title, and John Cena is in the main event with my now father-in-law, John Laurinaitis. He's like, this is all really weird. I mean, you're married to the woman I was with on TV, and my now father-in-law was above us. It's like, it's all very weird. But then they spoke, and they talked about guys like, hey, who do you see, that you would want to work that's not in WWE? And they talked about Zack Sabre Jr. and how do you remember when we were just, a bunch of kids on the indies? And it just felt like a really fun, like two friends getting together,
Hmm.
And I enjoyed it. It was actually like a good episode of Backstage. Oh, and they also shit all over the Jeff Hardy angle. Every one
Really?
of them.
Even though
Renee.
they did something similar in the past?
Uh, I probably Punk more so because of it.
Hmm.
Because for that segment, it was Renee, Christian, Booker T, and CM Punk. And they asked Booker T first, and he's like, "Yeah, I come from a generation where we had a lot of guys die from substance abuse. This isn't cool." And then Christian's kind of like, "Yeah, uh, this isn't cool." And then Punk goes, "I worked with Jeff, and we did this exact thing, but we didn't even know that he wasn't even doing too good at the time." And like they just spoke openly about like you don't play with somebody's sobriety, and I fully agree, especially after tonight. It's not a great angle.
Isn't this also the show where they Booker T said that he wants Matt Riddle to wear boots or something like that?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why I like the fact that Matt Riddle doesn't wear boots. Samoans don't wear boots. Nobody ever bothered them.
Let's see. Yeah, those are some of those things about the WWE Network. Let's move on to. Actually, let's do a little quick plug. If you do want us to watch WWE Backstage, Raw Talk, or anything else like that, or you want us to do some kind of things like, maybe you do miss the idea that the hot tags aren't Monday nights or something like that. The best way to make sure that we do whatever it is that you are interested in us doing is to hit up the Patreon. Patreon.com/SmarkOutMoment is where you can find all the different tiers that are there. Speaking of the whole WWE Network with a free tier, if you think about it this way, Smack Talk's always been like free on YouTube, but if you want more, then you can get access to more. $10 and up gives you the dark casts, and on the Fanboys Anonymous side of things, they're bonus features, but it's the same basic thing. It's just Patreon exclusive episodes. And the Pick Your Poison tier is part of both, where you can make sure that we do something in particular, some kind of like special feature, some kind of topic that we're not necessarily doing that you really want us to do, whatever it might be. You take advantage of that whenever you can, and we do those whenever we get around to doing them, at least like within that month. And even if it's just $1, whatever spare change that you toss our way is greatly appreciated. So thank you to everybody who shows their support for the Patreon for both of those two. And for those who want to but can't, there's plenty of other ways that you can help out. You can just hit the like button, share things, follow things. You spread the word in plenty of different ways. That helps out a lot too. I'll go around some other plugs a little bit later, but let's move on to Jinder Mahal. He is out of action again. He just came back. He wrestled, I think, 2 matches, maybe 3. I think it was just 2. Might have been actually only been 1, but they teased the idea that he might have been a babyface now, which is kind of strange. And then he disappeared again, and it seems like he did that because he has some kind of a knee injury. He just went under some other surgery, and that's a shame. I mean, he did just have this whole comeback after like a year out or something like that. So it's kind of interesting. But hey, if he wasn't 100%, better to take the time off now, right?
Yeah, but I always hate getting these gingery reports. It just doesn't seem right. The poor guy, he just wants to get back to being WWE champion, and he just keeps getting injured.
Speaking of injuries, I'm going to skip to something that we would normally talk about just when we're talking about the TV breakdown, which is some things that happen on SmackDown. They reported, quote unquote, that Elias is going to be out for a while, a couple of months, because
With
of
a
that
torn
whole
pec.
the rib injury, torn pec, that kind of thing. Do you know if there's anything behind like some other kind of injuries that he's got going on or whatever?
I haven't heard anything, but I also thought it was new, and was told by the Fightful crew that no, they announced this at some point last week, and I guess they were just reiterating on SmackDown.
That's just one of
So that
those like
sucks. But honestly, Elias for me is kind of getting towards that, like, all right, you're probably always just going to be the filler comedic character.
Yeah. I don't really feel super duper confident in like him even winning like a mid card title, which is a shame. But
Yeah.
you know, I hate to say this because it's not like I'm not wishing anything on the guy, but I don't find Elias when he's wrestling to be somebody that I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to see that next match or something.
Do you find his segments like, oh man, I can't wait to see that next segment?
You know, not lately.
Well, then Elias is dead in the water for you.
Yeah, it really is a shame because I like Elias. You know, I thought that his gig was pretty interesting. I thought that he had something. Like he's a big guy. He wasn't a bad wrestler, that kind of stuff. But you know, if he's a heel or a babyface at this point, I'm just kind of over it. Maybe it's just that I'm used to the gimmick by now or something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just that I just didn't like that Baron Corbin feud, and I'm just not into it from that.
You know, more on that later. I want to say stuff along those lines, but not necessarily pertaining to Elias.
Well, the other thing from SmackDown that I want to kind of talk about is that during the Sonya Deville and Lacey Evans match, they had a whole thing with the referee.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what? Why? One website, I'm not going to say what, but one website's out there saying this was not part of the show. To me, it struck me 100% part of the show.
Now, I had the opinion that if they're going to choose Jessica, and they might still go this route. Now, she's not a blonde, but maybe Sonya starts picking on Jessica? Maybe? Other than that, if it's not that, then it wasn't a part of the show, and the referee actually twisted his ankle.
That just seems so odd. Because this is the one that they filmed, right?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they just go, okay, well, why don't we refilm the match if that was the case?
They definitely refilmed some other stuff, and it wasn't as significant as a referee. So I don't know.
That to me is what's like one of these oddball situations that makes me go, okay, so that was planned. You know, it's not
Well,
like
what did we gain from it?
Not the slightest idea, but it seems like that would be the because it also didn't look like it was an actual like injury. At least to me.
Like,
I mean, if it is,
Sonya was just like, "What is this? Are we serious right now?"
right?
She was totally in character.
Yeah. So I don't know. For anybody that's like, you know, oh yeah, did you see the referee get injured? I'm not buying it at all. But maybe it's true. I don't know. And if that's an actual true injury, then that sucks. And hopefully the referee gets better. Apparently
That's eyebrows ref. I call him eyebrows ref.
Eyebrows ref.
Because the one thing I noticed about him is the eyebrows. They're like always perfect. I don't know what the hell that is.
Supposedly they've added Sheamus and Jeff Hardy to the Backlash card now since we started doing the hot tags.
Supposedly. They said it during the show.
They said it during the show? They made it official?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I completely skipped past that.
It was about as official as the Braun Strowman Goldberg announcement. It was, hey, by the way, Jeff Hardy's fighting Sheamus.
Oh, yeah. I tend to block out some of those, I think so. I'm just like, I'm looking on the website right now and I'm like, oh, they updated this 54 minutes ago to put that up on there.
It's Smark out moment, not block out moment, okay? You gotta get your head in the game.
Nah, I'm gonna block out a lot of things still. Let's see what we got here. We got some stuff that we can get into here and there about like some Hulk Hogan is banned from AEW for like pretty obvious reasons at this point. I don't know if there's really anything to talk about with that. It's just sort of one of those like interesting little tidbits. Locker room's upset with Jackson Riker for having his
Do you want to get into that? Should we?
Well, it's the type of thing that, like, you know, we're not going to get deep into this kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure everybody knows where we stand on politics, but like, at least as far as the locker room situation is kind of interesting. Riker had tweeted out something that was pro-Trump, and the reports going around now is that the locker room is understandably very pissed at him.
It's not so much that he tweeted pro-Trump.
It's when he tweeted.
It's that Trump turned the military on the protesters, and 5 minutes later, Jackson Riker's tweeting, "So thankful for the president we have, built of freedom." He meant to say built on freedom, but
Right.
different story. And then he said, "Forgotten no more." And I think what pushed everybody over the edge was that brother used his gimmick catchphrase in a tweet about the president when all this shit is going on.
I thought it was funny that Kevin Owens was like, like your shitty phrase, you're trying to get that over, whatever. That's awful. Like,
Kevin Owens said something to the effect of, you have the right to free speech, and that's fine. I just want to tell you that you're a piece of shit for putting your shitty wrestling catchphrase into this tweet. Good night.
yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. Obviously, lots of things going on in the world right now that plenty of people have plenty of different opinions on, and there's the right to free speech and things. But just an interesting little thing happening in the world of pro wrestling that we don't get 100% privileged to see how people are reacting backstage, but at least we know that that's what's happening.
Yeah. Well, what about this? Along the same lines, because it's all the Black Lives Matter stuff. WWE put out like this internal memo that we stand for diversity, and we're gonna start having 24/7 mental health assistance for anyone who needs it.
Hmm.
Oh, did you not see this?
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, there was I'm gonna actually pull it up right now because I think that this is a very interesting, almost completely non-WWE take on things. But there was an internal memo that went around that basically said the company is committed to diversity, and by the way, if you need mental health assistance, you can have that 24/7 access. So there's a specific email address for anyone who works for the company to directly address diversity concerns, and there's 24/7 mental health counseling to anyone who feels they need assistance.
Do you think that this, in any part, has to do with that thing that's been going on that Leo Rush had tweeted about?
No, but did you see the Instagram post where he made the email as public as possible?
Oh, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking that it was a tweet. But yeah, that, I mean, for anybody who hasn't seen it, he was speaking about how he felt that, like, the idea of, like, you got to buy beer for the people that are, like the veterans
The
and stuff.
seniority and all that.
Yeah, you got to carry their bags and stuff, that he was, I think, understandably kind of like, nah, that's pretty shitty to do. And he put out like that there were, some other things and stuff that were backstage that he didn't feel comfortable with. He thought that people were kind of bullying him, maybe discriminating against him and all that. And I don't know what came about that, because obviously I'm not there. But I don't know, maybe this is something that they've been having in the works a little bit, or maybe this is just coincidence. And maybe that's like some PR thing that they just kind of put that out there to be like,
Now, they're completely right to get on this as quickly as possible. They're well known for maybe not being the most diversity friendly. So for them to kind of jump on this as quickly as they can, I applaud them for that. And I think, 24/7 mental health assistance is something that all fucking jobs should offer, especially in that kind of environment. So actual positives coming out of this. And I will say, I don't know if it was taken out yet. I will be asking some people I know, but I wonder if the Forgotten Sons would have had a segment tonight and they got taken out instead.
Yeah, I don't know, because they have been doing those little
They've
vignettes.
been doing the promos for like 3 weeks that are literally about like, we're soldiers and we fought for our country and you forgot about us. And,
It'd be kind of funny knowing that Cutler and I think it might have been Blake too, but I know Cutler at the very least was sort of like, yeah, I'm a part of a tag team, but That doesn't mean that my opinions are the same. It'd be kind of funny if they would have done a vignette where it would have been like, we fought for our country, we fought for this, and like, yeah, we did this, whatever. And Riker starts saying something, and they're like, dude, shut the fuck up. We don't want you to talk. Like, you stand there and be the tall guy, like that kind of thing.
I was excited for Blake. I want Blake to still be a thing. Fuck it, put him with Murphy. You know what I mean? Like, throw him on Raw and put him with Murphy. And just let him be another disciple for Rollins and let them do that.
I've never been big on Blake.
But Blake is good. I thought Blake and Murphy were good. Like, Blake is going to end up being Bart Gunn over here.
I think if you take Blake, Cutler, and Riker and you merge them all together, you get one really good superstar. Things should merge. Merging is good.
Speaking of merging things, Road Dogg was on After the Bell. And kind of was like, oh man, Killer Cross is so big. Like, he's 6'4", and you might not know that when you look at him. But, like, he's actually a really big dude. And then he goes on to how great Adam Cole is. And he goes, I'll tell you right now, if Adam Cole was the size of Killer Cross, he'd be the Universal Champion right now.
Yeah.
Like, so it kind of let me know that, like, Cole being smaller is probably the reason they haven't moved him up yet. But
not surprising at all.
They love him. The D-Generation X dudes that run NXT love themselves some Adam Cole.
I hope that means that he sticks around.
Oh, what do you mean, like in WWE?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it on good authority that those stories are bullshit.
About the contract being up in August?
Correct. Huh. No, the contract being up in August, but like
that he hasn't
signed the new deal.
Okay, good. Well, talking about contracts and stuff, let's talk about Drake Maverick. We will talk about this a little bit with the NXT thing, but it's a separate enough story, good enough on its own. Drake Maverick has signed a new WWE contract, and that's just, merge it with a little bit of the NXT talk. Why not? We don't have to follow anything. It's my show. It's not like, got a Tony Mango above me that's going to tell me to do something differently. They had the NXT Interim Cruiserweight Championship Tournament Final, which they stopped referring to as the Interim Tournament Finals, yet the website currently has Jordan Devlin still listed as one half of the Cruiserweight champions. So I'm assuming it's still interim. But El Hijo del Fantasma, I always want to say Dave Fantasma, and Drake Maverick had their tournament match. Fantasma won. Drake Maverick, very sad, obviously. But Triple H comes out afterward and hands him a contract. And he's still in WWE now, which I think is so great that I added it to my list of, it's only right now that and Becky Lynch announces that she's pregnant and Edge returns are my only three options for Smark Out moment of the year.
Nothing's beating Becky for me, but Maverick was a genuine surprise. Now, to that, I have to ask you immediately, we already kind of talked about Leo Rush, but how did you feel about Rush's tweet saying, that's kind of fucked up. People were really released here.
I get it, but I also think that maybe he's not necessarily in the best place to be able to complain about that. Like, I don't know his full situation, but it seems like a lot of people left because they wanted to leave. Drake Maverick wasn't one of those people. So if he had gotten released and they talked to him soon afterward and they said, now we see that, because there's a story going around now that's like they saw how passionate he was with that tweet, and then that's when they re-signed him. If that's the case, and that was pretty much like a day or something afterward, they didn't start making this a storyline until a week or so afterward. And well, if they had signed that and that was the case,
they couldn't renege. Oh, sorry, we didn't release Maverick. We messed up. So they had to run with it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like and it worked. That's the story for the tournament. Like, that was the most interesting thing about this whole thing. If it was just like Jake Atlas versus Gentleman Jack Gallagher, like, who cares? Then it's just, one of the people wins and they might not even be the real champion. But watching Drake Maverick go through it was interesting. And that put the whole thing over. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, like, wrestling does far worse than that. And I kind of get his point of view of saying, like, well, people lost their jobs and stuff, which is like, yeah, that sucks. But
But
if a lot of those people were like, supposedly, I don't know for sure, but like Zack Ryder, for instance, if he was not re-signing his contract and he was thinking about going to AEW and he was talking to them about how he's not sure if he's going to resign, and they just said, fine, leave, and then everybody goes, whoa, 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 I didn't want to leave, whatever. Then it's like, all right, well, that's part of the negotiation deal. And if Lio Rush is that quick to be like, I don't even want to wrestle anymore, I don't want to be a part of this, I don't want to do this, I want to do that, then who cares in his point of view, you know?
I don't know if I would necessarily say who cares, but I think try, and I know it's a difficult thing to do. Don't get me wrong, but try to just enjoy the fact that somebody who was underutilized for the majority of his run is getting a chance to show himself. Because had Drake not been announced for this tournament, it might have never, he might have never, done anything. It might have been, okay, Drake Maverick's gone. I guess I'll go to Progress or Impact or whatever.
And who knows, like, a lot of things might happen for a reason. Maybe this is all working out that way and he's going to end up being the next cruiserweight champion and he's going to be some long time lifer with the company. And, this could have been like sending that tweet that he did could have completely altered his entire rest of his life for the positive. So I'm a big fan of it, though. Like, I think that the storyline was interesting. It's kind of dirty to do that a little bit, but at the same time, I don't think that it's like far from the worst thing that WWE has done, even this year, And I mean, I'd love to see more and more people get new contracts. But at the same time, some of the people, I think that they're better off without the WWE contracts, even if they don't really feel that way right now. Like, for instance, Eric Rowan. He already
What?
got the highest point that he was going to get in WWE.
He
Now,
had a
when
spider just earlier this year. I just want to
exactly
make it known. I want to make it known that was only like this year.
That was like
He had a
February
spider.
or something.
He had a spider. It was a thing that they were doing and actually building towards. He's technically in a gauntlet match with The Undertaker.
Yeah, he's the last match that The Rock had.
I know, a future legend.
Future legend Eric Rowan, but he's going to be a legend elsewhere, I'm sure. Like, if he goes to AEW, if he goes to NWA, like, whatever it is, like, at some point, things are going to go back to normal. And a lot of those people are going to bounce back, and they're going to be better than they were ever before. So, I'm not the type of person that says everything happens for a reason all the time, and I 100% believe in it constantly. But I've believed a lot more in it these past couple of years than I ever did before. And I kind of feel like Drake Maverick wasn't supposed to go. So that's how it worked out. And somebody like a Lio Rush, somebody like a Zack Ryder, somebody like a Kurt Hawkins, like a lot of these people that had been let go or didn't get re-signed or whatever, maybe it's going to work out in the end for them too. Like EC3, he's returning to Impact. You know what?
Well, we don't know that. Well, hold on. We don't know if he's returning to Impact, but he's going somewhere.
Well, he put up a tweet, and in that tweet, there's a video of that whole, like, the person watching the screens and stuff, and it's him.
Well, I know, but he also called it clickbait. He's just fucking people.
If he doesn't, then I'm very surprised about that. I assume that that's just a guarantee at this point.
I would say so, but like you said, it wasn't supposed to be that Drake leaves, and Drake will now actually get a chance to be utilized. Think about it. He never went through NXT.
Mm-hmm.
He was brought in as a GM for 205 Live to clean up the Enzo Amore mess from 2 years ago. So think about it. He gets a real chance now to be a wrestler. And sure, it'll probably only last like, 3 months, and people might get on to the next thing, but it's still really good.
And that could be the type of thing that keeps him going for years and years, because if he signed a multi-year deal, maybe by that time that the next one comes around, maybe they're sort of like, hey, do you want to be a trainer or something? Like, Who knows? Another thing about deals, apparently FTR, which stands for whatever they want. We got confirmation about that this week. They're on handshake deals with AEW. They're not actually signed to full-on normal contracts.
I'm not surprised about that, are you?
Not really. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Like right now, we're in the middle of a pandemic. If they could work elsewhere, they probably wouldn't be interested in signing like a full-on deal and would try to work on like some other things too. So why not?
They're gonna want to work Japan. They're gonna want to work Ring of Honor. They're gonna want to wrestle the Rock and Roll Express for the NWA Tag Team titles and probably win the NWA Tag Team titles. So it makes all the sense in the world.
I don't know, of course, what that handshake deal is, but I am kind of assuming that this is what it works out to be. They don't want to be locked down to AEW right now, and they're hoping that they can do all that other stuff. As soon as they can, they're going to do those other things,
And then sign with AEW.
And then fully sign with AEW, exactly, and just be like, look, this is where we're going. We're going to end up here. Let's not mince words about that. Let's not split hairs. We're going to go to AEW, but can we kind of, what's the phrase? Like, sow our roots or something like that? Or what's the...
Oats.
Sow our oats, yeah. I was like, sow our roots doesn't make any sense, but yeah, sow our oats, like... they kind of want to just like do that for a little bit, and
so our roots.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm being stupid today. But they want to plant their seeds. They want to have some happy little actions to whatever it is. It makes sense though, and I guess we could talk about that a little bit more when we get to the Dynamite talk. But let's bounce around here and do another little plug. I mentioned the Patreon before, goes for not only Smark Moment, but also Fanboys Anonymous. So if you don't know what Fanboys Anonymous is, go ahead and check out that website, fanboysanonymous.com, because it's the blue brand or the sister website or whatever you want to call it, the companion of Smark Moment that deals with the geek culture topics like movies, TV shows, comic books, video games, all that other kind of stuff. So I mostly just have the time to do Week in Geek type stuff where I talk about like some of the news stories that have happened in the past couple of days that I'm interested about. That's kind of like a very, very shortened version of the hot tags. That's not a podcast, but I do have a lot of things that I really want to get around to doing. And even like last night, I was writing a note to myself of trying to think about, maybe I'll write up an article about how Mary Jane Watson needs to be changed. And that like, I don't really know what that character is in the modern era. And maybe we should try to figure out a way to either replace Mary Jane as Spider-Man's main love interest or figure out how she should actually have some character at this point.
Well, what makes you say that? I want to get into that conversation, though we can. It's the wrestling.
We might get into it on a bonus features. I might write the article. We might do both. I don't know. Like if you're interested in more of those kind of discussions, though, you're going to find that on Fanboys. So if you want to make sure that we do those kind of discussions, then check out the Patreon for that. Because the more that gets some boosts, the more time I can dedicate to that. And then, we can have some in-depth discussions about how come there's too many symbiotes.
I'm working my way through Batwoman, and I'm gonna make Tony work his way through Batwoman so we can get on a podcast and talk about it. Because Batwoman is coming back without Batwoman.
So, yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah, something to think about. I've always wanted to do Week in Geek as an actual podcast, so I'd love to see more support for that. And then, find the time to be able to do that. So patreon.com/fanboysanonymous. Keep that in mind, everybody. Let's go around to, we just talked about AEW. Let's talk about AEW Fighter Fest. They finally clarified what's happening. And it's not in the slightest bit what I was expecting. I'm thinking, okay, end of June, mid-July, whatever. At some point, we've got like the September 5th all out, so they got to do Fighter Fest before that. Maybe even like the last week of July, we're going to get a pay-per-view thing, whatever. Not quite. Instead, on July 2nd and July 8th on TNT.
1st.
What's that?
July 1st.
July 1st? It's not on the 2nd?
Yeah, July 2nd and July 8th don't match up, Tony. They're not a week apart.
That's weird. July 1st and July 8th, like you're pointing out the difference. I have that labeled completely wrong on multiple different things at this point. Uh, that is happening on TNT, and it seems like it's just following Dynamite, right? Like it's just that's it. It's just gonna be like
Well,
another
do you
Dynamite type of
remember
thing.
Bash at the Beach?
That was Dynamite,
Yeah. So it's Bash at the Beach.
but
It's like Fighter.
isn't it starting at 10 o'clock?
No. So, all right, let's get into this. You are the son of a multimillionaire. You yourself, successful business person. How the fuck do you let your graphics team say that your show is starting at 10 o'clock when your show has never started at 10 o'clock? Tony Khan had to immediately tweet out, yeah, that's a mistake. Well, gee, you think?
So it's just gonna be Dynamite
It's
then.
just Dynamite, yes.
That's even like more disappointing to me then. Because that I was expecting to be like, okay, they're gonna do like an hour afterward, and it's gonna be like, something special or something like that. But that's bland. That's boring. That's stupid. It's just Dynamite. 2 episodes of Dynamite. Then who cares? Why is it Fyter Fest?
Because they're special episodes.
Ugh.
It
Thumbs down.
It was gonna be from the UK. COVID happened. They probably don't want to run a Saturday show for free on Bleacher Report. So that's why they're doing it.
That's still disappointing. Thumbs down. Not a fan.
Yeah, we'll live. I mean, gonna
Will
have some
we?
good matches.
Will we really?
We don't fucking know. Like, we don't know at this point.
Ready for a punchline here?
Yeah.
2020.
That's it. That's the joke.
That's the joke. Yeah, that's even more disappointing now. Fyter Fest is just Dynamite. Who cares? All right, move on to the next story.
What do you think about Fyter Fest? Like, what do you think about what they've announced so far?
It's just the Cage Moxley and Paige and Omega against Best Friends, right?
They haven't announced. They did announce, I guess, that all the titles will be defended, but they haven't said how. So Cody will probably defend it both weeks, and I assume Shida will fight Nyla again. But that's just me assuming things.
Probably Nyla. That makes the most sense. Or she'll fight like, I don't know, Riho or somebody that they're able to just kind of
Riho can't
pull in there. Didn't she wrestle during the pandemic?
No, it's all been Shida.
I thought that Riho had done like one match over this whole time. I know that Yuka Sakazaki hasn't. And I don't remember seeing Sakura at any point. But I think Riho had wrestled once. But maybe they like recorded that ahead of time or something. I don't know. Maybe it was before like the travel ban. But yeah, maybe they put Big Swole in there. Maybe they, it's probably just Nyla Rose.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling it too much then, especially if it's just going to be Dynamite. Because now it's just, all right, well, whatever happens, happens. It's not even a special event.
Well, yeah.
Womp womp.
Wow.
Speaking of special events, this is not really a hot tag, but speaking of hot, and it's something to talk about, the Sexiest Superstars tournament. I know people have been asking about that, and it usually happens around June or so. And it's in the works right now. I'm setting up all the different people for like all the graphics and everything like that. But for the people that are wondering why you can't find that stuff on the YouTube channel, you're not going to be able to, because YouTube is, real pissy about that kind of stuff. And a couple months ago, they had completely demonetized the YouTube channel because it was too, quote, sexually gratifying. I don't really know why, but when I removed the Sexy Superstars tournament posts, suddenly totally fine again. So we're not going to be able to put that up on the YouTube channel. And that means that there's not going to be the men's bracket and the women's bracket, 2 extra podcasts per week, on that kind of a thing. Plus, we were thinking about this before that even happened, that we weren't really necessarily going to be doing that the same, because it's kind of like it's a little
So
passe at this point.
can I like jump in here and actually just maybe say something that might tie us all together well?
Go for it.
So we know that the diehards love the tournament, and we had fun with it too. But if you really read the room, it's kind of it's a shitty thing to do. We're sitting here just ranking people based on their looks, and it's not the greatest reflection of who any of us really are as people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just we had our fun, we had our laughs, and we're just not gonna do it in podcast form anymore.
Well, we will do to a certain extent. So this is the game plan that I've got going on, and it might get adjusted in some fashion or something like that. But what I'm currently leaning towards is the tournament will still be the same on the website. It'll still be men's bracket and women's bracket. People can vote. It'll be 2 qualifying rounds, 5 normal rounds, 32 people in each bracket. You move on, you do that whole thing, and that operates the way that it normally is. But we're not going to do the weekly podcast things. What we might do is at the end of the tournament, do the tournament recap, the way that we've done with Champsgiving and with the Smark Madness tournament, and just kind of talk about, what had happened and what, I would have gone in this direction, like that kind of thing and stuff like that. But even so, we still can't put that up on the YouTube channel because that's still going to be something that they are not super into. So that is going to be a Patreon exclusive. All the more reason to take advantage of that and check out the Darkcast when it comes to that. But
so
it's not going to be.
Hear Caroline call Alexa Bliss unseasoned chicken. That is now something. Stop it. That is now something that you have to pay money for.
Essentially. And it's not me trying to be like, oh, this is something people like, so let's put it behind a paywall. It's more so to make sure that I don't lose my YouTube channel and to still be able to do it in some fashion without feeling scummy about it, without feeling like it's too passe, without also feeling like I'm putting things at a risk, So for anybody that's interested, that's in the works right now. It's surprisingly very hard to find some pictures of some people. I just edited so many different pictures over the past bunch of days. But at the very least, qualifying round is most likely probably going to be coming up in the next couple of days. And then we're going to kind of continue on it there, but you'll find it on the website, not on the YouTube channel. So sorry, everybody, but hey, got to do what you got to do.
Such is life.
Such is life. And I got 2 more hot tags here listed before we talk about the full shows, kind of breakdown of the week. One of them is something that we're jumping ahead about because we're going to get into predictions for Backlash next week. But there's a rumor going around right now that I kind of wanted to just put out there before we get into that, which is something from the Wrestling Observer that Paul Heyman specifically wanted MVP to be the mouthpiece for Bobby Lashley for a title run. And now, of course, people are jumping on that and they're going, oh my God, that means that Bobby Lashley's going to win the title. I don't buy it. I think that that's something that's like, well, that'd be really good if he were to win the title and whatever, and you could use him as your mouthpiece. I don't think that means that Drew McIntyre loses the title to Bobby Lashley, though.
You know what? Why not? I'm not saying I want to see it, but I am certainly not opposed.
If Lana's a part of this, I'm opposed.
I like the MVP thing because it seems like they're moving away from Lana.
See, what I'm worried about that, though, is you move away from Lana so that way she can come full force back into the story. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want more of that. I don't want any of it at all.
So, on that same note, Lashley said something very interesting about the Rusev angle to Digital Spy. Lashley said, I don't think it had a proper conclusion. I think there was so much we could have done. We had a full head of steam. People wanted Rusev to rip my arms off and beat me with them. I don't know what happened, to tell you the truth. I think we were at the point where the revenge needed to happen, and it didn't. I don't know where we could have went or where we were going to go with it. I just wish I could have had the match that I wanted to have with Rusev. I've seen him in some great matches, and I think I could have had one with him. So that to me even seems like Lashley wanted, more of this Rusev thing and for it to actually have a proper ending. And I think,
like any rational person.
yeah, but like sometimes when you see that in talent, it's hard to be believed because you think, oh, maybe they're all just going with the flow.
Maybe. Then I don't trust, though, that same kind of problem wouldn't happen with the title reign.
Nah, I don't think it's time yet. Because how fucked up would it be? How fucked up? Like, for example, spoilers, we have new women's tag team champions, but like, Bliss and Cross's whole second reign is in front of nobody. Like, there are going to be those title reigns.
I'm not too worried about that for Bliss and Cross, but
Well,
it would
no,
be
I
a
mean,
little bit
like,
weird for Bobby Lashley.
for McIntyre. No, I'm talking about McIntyre.
Oh, the McIntyre whole thing. Yeah, that's true.
To win at Mania and never get to
have a single person cheer for him.
Yeah, like never get to see the fans with it. That's weird.
But I also think that that's not happening with Lashley winning because Drew McIntyre losing the title right now seems a little weird. They put a lot of investment in him being the champion, and the only way I could see that being the case is if their plan is Lashley wins it, they continue this feud, McIntyre wins it back at SummerSlam.
I'm not opposed to it. I like Lashley. And damn it all, Lashley should have been more than he is.
I think that they're just now getting to the point that Lashley should have been when he first came into WWE 2 years ago from his return.
Yeah. And I think MVP has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, MVP's great.
It's a great pairing. I would have thought we would be talking about this pairing, but it's a really good one. I'm glad we're getting it.
So speaking of Backlash plans, we know that there's a change to the plan for the pay-per-view that's coming up this weekend, which is NXT TakeOver in your house. Obviously, of course, later on this week, we're going to do the whole, Sunday night, the post-show, all that other kind of stuff. So pay attention to that. And if you didn't check out our predictions for that yet, go back and check that out. But we have to adjust them a little bit, just a tad, because they added a match after we got done doing that in typical fashion. There is a 6-woman tag team match that's been added to the card. It is Candice LeRae on one side, Mia Yim on the other side, and we were talking about the idea that match could have been a case, but instead of it just being the two of them, they've got some tag team partners. Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart are teaming up with Mia Yim, and Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai are with Candice LeRae. So this 6-woman tag team match is just sort of there. I mean, they did a little bit of work to kind of set this up, but it's not like it's like the most in-depth storyline, but it's a good way to get people on the card. And you know what? I like it too, for the most part.
I had just been saying to somebody, I miss 6-man tags. And I miss when it was like, not every pay-per-view match had to be the big confrontation. And this feels like that to me. Like, we're still getting on pay-per-view. Everybody's going to get a chance to shine. But it's not like, oh, we're going to settle the score here. This is just a fork in the road. And we're going to keep going.
Yeah. That pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, and I think Candice and Dakota, for that matter, are still in the middle of fresh heel turns, and they need to win.
Yeah, I'd probably go in that direction. I think that since the match got a little bit messed up and a little bit weird, Mia Yim could still win, and it wouldn't be like the worst thing in the world if they were to win, especially if, like, for instance, Tegan Nox pins Dakota Kai or something like that. Wouldn't be weird.
Yeah, she never got her vengeance, did she?
She won the one match, didn't she? She won like the first one.
No, I think she won the one to get into the ladder match.
Blanking on it right now, but like that feud is still kind of lingering, and I don't think that they should really pin Raquel yet.
I hope that Shotzi Blackheart does not try to do a coffin drop.
I kind of think a little bit more so that Candice wins, though. And I guess we'll find out on Sunday. And it might depend on their plans for the Gargano and Lee match. It might depend on the match for Velveteen Dream and Adam Cole. We were to talk about the idea of like switching up some ideas and stuff. Right now, I'm actually leaning more towards the idea that Adam Cole retains and Keith Lee drops the title. So if that happens, Cole retains, Lee drops the title. I think that maybe Mia Yim does win, and they kind of give a little bit of an offset like that.
Well, you never know.
Maybe. We'll know on Sunday. Stay tuned.
We will.
Very quick plug here for the merchandise shops, TeePublic and Redbubble. Check them out for Fanboys Anonymous, Smark Out Moment, and a Mango Tees. Pick up a t-shirt, pick up a thing of stickers, some magnets, pins, lots of different designs, lots of different merchandise options on both of those different platforms for all three of those different sites. So, if you want to pick up any of that, go ahead and pick it up. And let's go around now and talk about the TV shows. Let's see, what TV shows do you watch these days? No,
this week it's been the news. We don't need to talk about that.
You're a very brave soul, because I cannot stand that much negativity all the time.
Whew.
The news on a regular time is awful. Like way before even like COVID and the protests and everything like that just makes you feel like, oh my God, everybody in the world's a horrible person. The news itself is still just kind of like, this household item is going to kill you. Tune in at 11.
To be clear, like pre-COVID, I was never watching so much news. But with everything that's going on, I'm finding it like, yeah, things are changing so rapidly, I can't look away. Because I'm going to turn around and the whole world is going to be different again.
I got to imagine like print newspapers are probably sitting there going, God damn it. Like every single time that they start printing a story, they're like, let's change it. Because by the time tomorrow happens, it's like, all right, let's do 5 redactions and let's just switch this around. And
that's why print media is dead.
Yep. All right, everybody. Tones out. That's it for that. Now, let's talk about Raw. Let's see. Seth Rollins held his retirement ceremony for Rey Mysterio, who, surprise, surprise, is not necessarily retired. He just basically...
shame on you 7 outlets that were like, oh my God, Rey Mysterio's retiring, you morons.
Instead, his whole retirement ceremony thing and his promo afterward was him basically saying, this is what I have to say. Damn you. That was so underwhelming. Damn you for what you put my family through. Oh, God damn it. You're a meanie. That kind of thing.
And then Dominic said an eye for an eye. I am so on board with Dominic being a follower of Seth Rollins.
Can we figure out first how to spell Dominic? I have seen Dominic with a CK, a K, and a C.
So WWE currently is doing it with a K. For the graphic for the Eddie Guerrero ladder match for the custody of Dominic, it was a CK. And you will see it spelled with a C because news outlets don't know what they're doing.
And CK, I think, is on his Wikipedia page.
Well, yeah,
anybody could change
that's
that.
That's the name said on the custody papers, Tony.
So it's just Dom. He's just going to be Dom from now on to me. Really random side note. One of my least favorite names of any character in something is from Inception. Leonardo DiCaprio's character is Dom Cobb. I think that's so bland. Dom Cobb. Ugh.
Dominic.
They never say Dominic in the movie. It's just hey Dom, whatever like that. Oh, it's Cobb. Dom Cobb. It's like it sounds like something that you should like repeat a lot, like Dom Cobb, and it's like,
it sounds like Law and Order, Tony.
Dom Cobb. do. And now I'm in copyright infringement. So that led into Aleister Black coming out. He attacked Seth Rollins and his disciples. Then he beat Seth Rollins. I got nothing really to say about that. Do you?
Nah. That's the one I would have wanted to see the 6-man tag for. Backlash, do Humberto Aleister Black and Mysterio against Rollins, Murphy, and Theory. I think that'd be a good match.
Hopefully sometime down the line they'll do that.
Oh, they'll do it 50 times on Raw.
Yeah, that's true. After that, we had Apollo Crews against Kevin Owens for the United States title, which was a no contest because Angel Garza and Andrade interfered. That led to a tag team match, which Crews and Owens won by pinfall. Just a thing. Again, nothing really like important.
We saw Apollo Crews feign a low blow and sucker punch Kevin Owens. To me, planting the seeds of like, oh, this dude is gonna turn.
I still think that turning him's probably going to be the best thing for him. But right now, they're riding a wave of him being like a Mr. Positivity. So, not yet, but soon enough, maybe, a month from now, 2 months from now, whatever it is, we good. Viking Raiders beat the Street Profits in bowling. Again, every week, I type that stuff out, and it's just like, all right, it's my job. It's just...
it's a decathlon next week.
Do you think it's going to be better or worse than the one from Billy Madison?
Much worse.
I hope we get the whole, speech at the end. May God have mercy on your soul, that whole thing.
They're doing, like it's literally a trivia contest.
Right.
What you just said is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I award you no points. May God have mercy on your soul.
We could do everybody in this room is now dumber for having heard that, and the people in NXT that are on the sides could be like, whoa, we just ate our lunches outside in tents. Awful situation for them, apparently. Jeez.
Yeah, they're not very happy.
I don't blame them. Sounds like it's terrible.
It certainly does.
I wouldn't want to stand. I couldn't stand for 10 hours. I can't stand sometimes for 10 minutes. And my back hurts. So
I'm also of the opinion that while the noise is better, their facials are awful.
And the big boo, you're a bad guy type of thing.
Yeah, it's just oh, this is too manufactured.
At least if you're going to be manufacturing it, be manufacturing it like Vince did. Everybody should just be like, oh my god, yeah. Oh my god, unbelievable! Like the whole thing. Billy Kay beat Nikki Cross. That's set up. Apparently nothing, I guess, because oh my god.
Wait. We'll get to that.
Yeah. Nia Jax called herself the victim from the Asuka and Kairi Sane attacks, and then said, I don't know if this is a direct quote, but it's pretty much the same as me, Japanese.
I believe it was me, Japanese. I don't know.
Who? Oh, come on,
But here's the thing. Ding.
What does it boil down to?
You edited out her injuring Kairi.
We didn't get to that yet. She did the promo first. Then she has a match with Kairi Sane where she splits her head open.
But you don't think to edit out me, Japanese? You don't think that even if one person finds it horribly offensive, take the fucking thing out.
What's the goal for that too? Is it, oh my god, they're Japanese? Okay. So they are at the end. That doesn't make them heels. They're baby faces in this. Is that her problem with Asuka? Is that she's Japanese? Because that seems weird. It should be about the championship. So it's that's just a weirdly written line, and it doesn't help Nia Jax's case because this week she had the whole.
She should have said Japanese.
Yeah.
She could have done me, but why did you go? Oh, maybe she's trying to mimic Asuka, who's been speaking Japanese.
I think that's what they were going for, but at the same time, it didn't translate. So that was a bad decision, as was chucking Kairi Sane into the steps and injuring her, which seems to be Nia Jax's gimmick these days, is injures Kairi Sane or other people.
We didn't touch on the buckle bomb thing.
Oh, that's right. They banned that this week, or at least it's been referred to as banned this week.
Supposedly because of Kairi Sane being injured by Nia Jax from the previous time with it wasn't even a buckle bomb. She threw her into the corner. Plenty of people do it. It's just, Nia's she doesn't know her own strength.
So that's a mess.
Don't say me Japanese. Like, don't do it.
I mean, let's kind of put it out there. Probably don't say me, and then like almost any of those kind of things. Don't be like, oh, next week we're gonna cut a promo, but it's me, and then I don't know, Ireland or something. Like, just gonna probably not do some kind of xenophobic angle like that, unless the story is like the heel is xenophobic and you want to try to play into that. There might be a way to get around it, but this was not the way to do it for sure. Rob Gronkowski dropped the 24/7 championship, which means that is horribly underwhelming.
And has been released.
Yeah, he is no longer a part of his deal that would have seen him wrestle at a Saudi Arabia show and at SummerSlam.
According to Fightful Select, great service, you should pay the $10. Somebody, a higher up in WWE, said, good riddance, he was a clown and we're better off without him.
What was the good riddance to bad rubbish? It's Simpsons, right?
I think that's just a saying.
Good riddance to bad rubbish. I kind of remember that being like a Simpsons quote at some point. I don't know where I would have learned it from other than the Simpsons. It probably is. But...
Well, I got news for you. For Rob Gronkowski, everything is not coming up Millhouse.
What a disappointing title reign. They couldn't even get that moment at WrestleMania to happen in front of people. It was just, to be fair, not WWE's fault, but at the same time,
totally WWE's fault.
I can't imagine Gronkowski fighting at WrestleMania and SummerSlam and Saudi Arabia and having good feuds. I was interested, it was like, okay, like, let's see what happens here. But like, if they would have done like a 3-match thing, who would he have fought? It would have probably teamed with Mojo against 2 other people.
Against like Corbin and random Ziggler. Yep, there you go.
And maybe even like for the tag titles or something like that. And then he probably would have had like
Mojo.
Maybe Mojo, yeah, which I don't think would have been like some big deal that people would have been loving.
Enes Kanter, the basketball player, wanted to do the SummerSlam match against Gronk. So how weird would that have been? A basketball player and an NFL player are fighting in a WWE ring.
And they're like, that'll get the casuals.
That'll get the casuals.
Sign up for the free network. Yeah, so R-Truth back to being 24/7 champion. The world is slowly getting back to normal. Randy Orton.
So does that mean Riddick Moss is going to get it back soon?
Maybe. He is kind of the other part. Maybe Drake Maverick starts winning it again. Randy Orton cut a promo about how he did half-ass his career and that he's going to do a little bit better than Edge at Backlash, and, his talents are still much better than that.
The website of WWE has this labeled as the greatest wrestling match ever. I cannot wait to talk about this. What is this? Like, what is this whole thing?
A mistake. That's what it is.
There are no mistakes.
Only happy accidents. So maybe they should just call it Randy Orton versus Edge, the happiest of accidents.
There's still the issue of Angel Garza saying a wrestling match is like making love. Now, are Edge and Randy Orton going to make love? That is the question I have.
Again, their feud was about, you don't really love me, so now it's time to prove it.
All right.
So instead of getting, voices and Metalingus, their entrance themes are just going to be Careless Whisper and Have You Really Ever Loved a Woman? Some kind of songs like that. Unbreak My Heart, whatever is on my romance playlist.
Unbreak My Heart by Tony Braxton is in your romantic playlist?
It should be at the very least. I mean, I had that. That's part of my music collection because it's a great song.
I didn't think we would be talking about Tony Braxton when we came out here today. So there's that.
I talked about Caleb Braxton. We'll talk about Tony Braxton. All the Braxtons.
all the Tonys.
And Byron Saxton, which is close to Braxton. It's past midnight. Asuka versus Charlotte ended in a whole weird situation where Nia Jax, quote unquote, steamrolled Asuka and was doing the face paint because, you know, that's a good way to follow that up.
I like the look for her. I didn't hate it.
I still did. And Drew McIntyre beat MVP by pinfall, and Bobby Lashley attacked him after the match. That was Monday Night Raw.
He got him full Nelson. Does that not scream Paul Heyman to you? I know he's the executive director, but like, do you remember when Heyman did the Austin podcast? And he was like, if I was the writer, I'd give Mark Henry a side headlock. And I'd just build WrestleMania around Mark Henry doing a side headlock. This kind of feels like that.
A little bit. We talked about the NXT Interim Cruiserweight Championship Tournament Final. Some other things that happened on NXT where Mia Yim and Candice LeRae fought to a double countout, which led to the 6-woman tag team match getting announced, and also led to a mixed tag team match. Gargano and Candice LeRae beat Keith Lee and Mia Yim. Let's see.
How do you feel about it being named the Backlash Brawl?
Well, that's right. They clarified that. Backlot Brawl is what it is. The first ever. Because, you know, first time ever.
It is the first ever because it's not exactly an Iron Circle match. It's not exactly like we're going to fight in a parking lot. We're going to put a ring in a parking lot and surround it with cars. So the automobiles are the lumberjacks.
I'm still just not in the slightest bit into that idea. Not for these two. For other people it might work, but not Dream and Cole.
I'm totally convinced Dexter Lumis will just pop up and have the other three members of the Undisputed Era in a trunk.
That's what he was alluding to when he was making his happy little accidents. Because he was painting. This is the Bob Ross episode of the Hot Tags. Yeah, kind of weird.
Fucking shout out to Malcolm Bivens.
Yeah, out of nowhere, we have a triple threat number one contenders match. Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan against Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish, and another team that they are not announcing at the moment. Turns out to be Breezango, so Fandango returns. And this is after we're talking about the idea of like, well, you know, we haven't seen Fandango in a while. Maybe he returns, probably not. And what's been happening with Indus Sher? Well, Imperium comes out and they pose down afterward, and then Indus Sher pops up. And so it's like, okay, if we would have waited a little bit, we would have been like, all right, check that off, check that off, check that off, check that off. Like, you know, by the end of the night on Wednesday, we had about 6 or 7 things that we had talked about on the predictions thing that went, all right, just fuck you then.
Are we going to have to start doing these takeover predictions on Thursdays?
That might be, you know, the way that these keep moving around and who knows? We might have takeover predictions are always on Thursdays. Hot tags are on whatever days, you know, all over the place. Remember when it was a lot easier and we could do like Raw and SmackDown and then NXT and then the whole rest of the week was just done.
And then all you had to do was wait till Sunday? Yeah.
Yeah, I miss those days. We could go outside. Like,
you know, there was a severe unrest across the nation.
Yeah, just like moderate unrest.
Yeah. You know, like, it's there, you know it's there, and we're all surviving it, and now it's just like blowing up in our face.
That's the difference between when you set a pot of water to boil and when you realize that it's boiling.
Yeah.
But Breezango, they're still
boiling.
doing the stripper gimmick type thing, and this time they're spacemen.
SpaceX.
Awesome. No, it's Space Force, and you know a lot of space things happening right now. So Breezango, thumbs up.
What did Beth say? Did she make any inappropriate jokes?
She probably did. I love that I had most recently rewatched Moonraker, and that's got one of the best endings of a Bond film, which is when Bond and Dr. Holly Goodhead are naked on top of each other, floating in space, zero gravity, and it's like, what's Bond doing? And Q says, I think he's attempting re-entry, sir.
No.
So now the Breezango popping up like that. I hope that Beth had some kind of little shots
Well,
like that.
as we know, Breezango has re-entered the NXT Tag Team title picture because they are the new #1 contenders.
Yeah, they are not going to win the titles. I'm
They're
assuming.
not.
No, Imperium's going to retain over them. But you know
But you
what?
never
It's a
know.
good feud to have in the meantime.
You never know. And you know what's crazy about that? After well over 5 years on TV, neither Fandango or Tyler Breeze has ever held any championship.
Not even the 24/7.
Not even 24/7.
Hmm. I would have thought that Breeze at least would have won that by now.
Nope.
Wow, that sucks. Give them the belts.
Give them the belts just for that alone.
Give them the belts and then they'll take them off. that's their gimmick now. Santana Garrett beat Aaliyah by pinfall. We got clarification a little bit more on that Robert Stone thing. He is just falling apart now that he lost Chelsea Green, and not even Aaliyah is working out for him because Aaliyah had lost her match before, and he was like, I'll blow her off. And then it seemed like he was interested in, well, then I'll try to get Aaliyah back. And then Aaliyah lost again, so it's like he's kind of losing it. Not sure where they're going with this, but
I hate it.
it could be good, it
Like
could be bad. I'm not feeling one way or the other about it yet right
he
now.
deserves so much.
Well, I like him, so I hope this is going in the right direction.
But you know what? We finally got Bivens on TV again, so let's hold out hope for good things.
Maybe Bivens Enterprises and Robert Stone brand, they have some kind of a company merger.
They're the Bivens Tone brand.
There you go.
One word, Bivens Tone.
Malcolm Stone. It's a good name. Robert Bivens? I don't know. Whatever it is. Induce share. They're back.
That's right.
Isaiah Swerve Scott beat Tony Nese by pinfall. We referenced that a little bit earlier for the opposite for 205 Live. Cameron Grimes beat Bronson Reed, and then Karrion Kross picked up Bronson Reed and, kind of said, screw you, you're back. You lose twice.
Ugh. Am I ever gonna get my Bronson Reed push?
I don't think so.
Ugh.
Maybe not. I mean, the future's still out there for him, but it doesn't seem like he's in a great spot right now.
He's big.
He is big.
He's not
Not Babatunde big, but it's like some of the trademark now, Babatunde big.
Yeah.
They do like having characters named Big. Big Jordan, Big E, Big Show, Big Red, Big Hungry. Babatunde Big. Maybe that's the next thing. Also on Wednesday night was Dynamite. That's why they call it Wednesday Night Dynamite. And we had the Kenny Omega and Adam Page beating Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian to retain the tag titles.
It's a great match.
Tully Blanchard gave Sean Spears a black glove.
Do you need me to fill you in on that?
So that's like that's not the coal miner's glove thing.
No.
But
like
they were trying to act on the Twitter at least that's like passed down from generation to generation type thing.
it's not necessarily passed down. So, as we've established on this show and on any show really, Cody loves himself some old school wrestling. And the black glove, yes, Ted DiBiase had it in
Like
Mid-South
or
Wrestling.
something. Yeah.
But I took it as, because Tully gave it, Barry Windham, when he became a horseman, had the black glove. Because the black glove was passed down from his father, Blackjack Mulligan. And I think we're going to end up seeing Spears try out a host of these old school gimmicks until he finds something that he can just make his own.
He's trying to say that he's going to try out a host of these. I was thinking you meant gloves. He's just going to have like next week a pink glove and then a blue
It'll be
glove.
a red glove, a pink glove, a blue glove.
Yeah. Like that's just like each new segment is Tully Blanchard being like, here's another thing for you to wear. It's like, now you got a necklace. Now you've got a sock. Now you've got like,
Now if the glove works for him right off the bat, I'd be like, damn guys, you really want to just do the NWA. Just say it. Like, just say it out loud.
Right. I don't know. It could be a thing. Might not be.
I like Spears.
Yeah, me too.
I want Spears to do a good thing.
I wanted him to do good things when he was Ty Dillinger in NXT.
Other than being the number 10.
And I liked the number 10 thing, but they didn't really push it as much as I thought that they should have. So I hope that he gets a good push out of this. Brian Cage beat Shawn Dean. They had a promo afterward. Moxley's excited to fight Cage at Fyter Fest. I'm not as excited to see it now that I know that it's just Dynamite. Blah. Lance Archer had a whole thing. One loss is not going to mess up his whole career. He beat up somebody, intimidated Alex Marvez. That's the thing. Not really talking
Jake
about that.
oddly apologized.
Matt Hardy is going to possibly join Private Party and be Party Hardy.
Hardy Party.
Hardy Party. Private Matt. I don't know. Chris Jericho beat Colt Cabana by pinfall.
What do you think about Matt Hardy being a human again?
Whatever. It's kind of like doing the Foley thing.
How did you like Private Party marking out for Matt Hardy? I thought that segment was cute because they were just like, you could tell they're just not containing themselves.
And I didn't love it, didn't hate it.
Just to piggyback off what you said, Matt Hardy is not Mick Foley.
I mean, he's doing the Mick Foley thing, but yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to be, but he's not Mick Foley.
No. Jericho beat Cabana. Then he talked about how he wants to fight the baddest man on the planet. And Orange Cassidy came out, which I thought was funny.
5 stars.
So they're doing some little thing with the Inner Circle there. It's just to fill some time until the Tyson thing, which I guess we'll find that out. It's probably going to happen at Fyter Fest, I'm assuming.
I assume it'll happen at All Out.
Well, he was talking about he doesn't want to wait until the next pay-per-view and stuff. So if they want to get pop a rating for Fyter Fest, that would be the way to do it.
But then I'm sorry, if you do it on Fyter Fest, which is on free TV, and you don't pop a huge fucking number, pack it up, boys. Go home.
What, all of AEW or just Mike Tyson?
I mean, why not both?
All the AEW guys go to Mike Tyson's home.
I want it to be at All Out because I want merchandise that reads Mike Tyson's All Out.
Maybe he'll still pop up. They might continue the feud going a little bit, and he might be in somebody's corner or something like that. Maybe he's going to be some special enforcer type thing. Could work.
Yeah.
Nyla Rose beat Big Swole. FTR did the whole thing with, we talked about that earlier. Brody Lee offered a spot in the Dark Order to Colt Cabana, who turned it down. And Cody retained the TNT Championship over Jungle Boy.
Can we talk about Cody bleeding?
What do you want to talk about?
Why?
That happens a lot.
Why did it happen?
Because then it's real,
But let me walk you through my mentality here. The guy gets thrown into the wall. Not even the wall. He gets thrown into the barricade. Camera cuts away, come back, and he is bleeding a gusher. And the thing is, we're so far removed from that being a regular thing in wrestling that it now looks like, oh, look, he completely sliced his forehead open. And I just don't think this match calls for it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit used to that with Cody. That's why I said what? So it's a Cody thing.
I was much more passionate on Wednesday night. I asked the question of if he gets a boner every time he sees a razor blade.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's the next gimmick.
Because Dustin does it too. He fucking bleeds guys. It's guys, what are you doing? Stop doing this to yourselves.
And then let's move over to SmackDown. We talked again a little bit about this kind of stuff. Elias is out for a little bit with that whole kind of thing. Otis took King Corbin's crown and then beat him by DQ.
Awful. I don't like that Otis has the briefcase. I say Otis?
Otis.
I don't like that Otis has the briefcase. And I completely forgot about it. But the inner circle, the universal title is a afterthought to me right now anyway, because look at what they're doing with that. And I don't know. I don't like anything about this segment. They seem like they're trying to really make Otis this babyface star, and he's got like a whole hulking up vibe to him right now, where he gets impervious to pain, and I'm just not feeling Otis. Like, it wasn't supposed to go this far. I love that he has Mandy. I will say that. I like that was actually a happy ending.
Well, at some point it's going to turn bad.
Why does it have to?
It's going to, you know.
Why can't they just mutually agree to just be friends?
That will be kind of underwhelming, though, wouldn't it? If they're just like a backstage segment and they just kind of like shake hands, nod, and walk away, and it's just like, all right, end of that story, that sort of thing. Even though that'd be a lot more like real life in some ways.
Yeah.
And it's still in the background with that, "Are you ready for?" Like, it's just. The running theme tonight was The Miz and John Morrison pranking or making Braun Strowman's life a living hell. They messed with his protein shake. They tried to pour green paint all over him, but it got on Kayla instead.
And Kayla said, "Those bastards." I wonder who gave her that line.
Oh, very clearly Adam Pearce, right? They smashed his windshield of his car, and then, in typical Braun Strowman fashion, he found out that they were inside a van, so he flipped it, which is the 5th car that he's flipped.
Isn't that murder? Or at least attempted murder?
There's been plenty of attempted murders in WWE. It doesn't matter at this point. But he flipped the armored truck. He flipped the
ambulance.
He flipped he didn't flip the that one car. He broke the door off and everything. He's flipped he's flipped a couple of different things.
He's flipped several vehicles.
This is the 5th or the 6th or the 8th or something like that. He's flipped a lot. That's his gimmick. I actually started typing out so he flipped it before, like, way before he had done it in that segment, because I'm just like, he's flipping it. I'm like, yeah, it's just, that's happening.
Why didn't they? It's like they don't watch the program. They don't know he's gonna flip the vehicle.
Right. That was the thing. You know, this is a pointless feud in the middle of nothing. So.
Middle of, apparently Bray Wyatt needed time off because he had a kid. That explains that.
Yeah. Second kid with JoJo.
Good for them.
Shorty G was interviewed by Kayla Braxton. Mojo Rawley came up and said, "Hey, by the way, I'm a heel again. You're short."
Did you change the heel and face turn?
Changed it before anybody got around to it.
So for Mojo Rawley, Gronk leaves, and it's like, all right, Mojo, you're a heel again.
You're back to being
nobody.
You know, you got the cracked thing going on again. It's a shame for Mojo.
Did he have the crack again?
He had it on the gear. So.
Wow.
Yeah. Maybe he just didn't get new ring gear or something.
Poor guy.
He's back to square one. That's a shame. But later on, Shorty G, Big E, and Kofi Kingston beat Mojo Rawley, Cesaro, and Shinsuke Nakamura.
For them. They're just lackeys for whoever will have them.
Yeah, it kind of seems the case. And not even fighting for the tag titles right now, which is kind of strange.
But maybe they will, because a certain team has been forgotten.
That's true. We had a thing with Lacey Evans and Sonya Deville, where we talked about the whole idea of the referee, and Mandy Rose popped up on the Titantron, said that Sonya Deville is not a fighter, she's a failure. That led to Lacey Evans winning by knockout, or by pinfall, but, you know, knocked her out and pinned her. So that feud's still going on.
Shocked about that, actually. I thought they'd clearly moved on last week. But no, I guess Mandy and Sonya are always going to fight.
Probably. They'll be Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And we also had not Kevin Owens, AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan had a face-to-face, because everything's like, how do we reword promo segment? Blah, blah, blah. Styles talks about giving out handouts, which I was like, I don't know if they're really doing this, like, kind of getting into the politics side of things, but whatever. And he offers a match to Drew Gulak, who beats him by pinfall in a surprise. Good to see Gulak get a little bit of a win there.
Very good.
It's starting to make me think that AJ Styles is winning that championship.
He might be, but Daniel Bryan does have that "I will defend it every week" gimmick.
So does Apollo Crews, though.
Does he?
Uh-huh.
Oh, well then Bryan's not winning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Unless they think that they can just double up the same thing.
Oh, like that. Okay, every Monday you get a U.S. title shot. Every Friday you get a IC title shot.
And that way it's like every week you're going to get a title opportunity. That's not something that AEW is doing twice a week, like that kind of thing. And then AEW is just going to be like, every week on Dark, you're
going to get a women's title shot. There
right.
you go.
We're going to create the AEW Dark Championship, and it's going to be won by, I don't know, Pentagon.
Something in the Dark Order, obviously.
Yeah, why not? 10. 10 will win it.
5.
4.
3.
16. And we had the women's tag team titles changed hands. Bliss Cross Applesauce, that's apparently their tag team name, lost to Bayley and Sasha Banks because I guess that feud's never starting, and this is their way to drag this out as long as they could possibly go, because 2 years isn't enough.
Hold on, I think this is the perfect full circle catalyst. Because they clearly have problems. They were not in sync on that match. They were like, Bayley was just breaking up the bank statement, trying to steal all the glory. Sasha Banks literally had to tag herself in just to, win the match for the team. I think, and this is where we get back to the Iconics, they fight the Iconics, or even maybe a triple threat at Backlash. They lose to the Iconics again. And that's when Bayley freaks out. Because
I hope that's the case.
Because my takeaway from this was the SmackDown Women's title means nothing. So we're going to do this with Bayley and Sasha because this will allow them to do more than have matches with Lacey Evans or Tamina. Because now they can go on any show they want. Even though nobody ever goes to NXT.
Yeah, we can go to any show that we want. Raw, NXT, 205 Live, NXT UK, SmackDown, Raw and SmackDown.
So now they can go to Raw.
Yeah.
Fight the Kabuki Warriors, fight Charlotte Flair however many times, fight Tamina and Nia Jax, fight really whoever. So I think it's a good move.
I don't want to see this feud out. I want them to at least feud at SummerSlam because I'm sick and tired of this. Wanted it to happen at WrestleMania. Wanted it to happen a year and a half ago. Whatever it was. I remember being annoyed about this dragging on at WrestleMania that one year, 2018,
34.
whatever it was. So this is just well past its point to no return. But I kind of am hoping, at least to a certain extent, that maybe Io Shirai comes up, turns babyface, starts tagging back up again with Kairi Sane, and we get Sky Pirates as champions again.
Well, you never know, and I think there's a lot of talent that could be utilized. They just haven't gotten around to yet.
That's it. That's what I got for the hot tags.
I will accept that hot tag and say that's all I have to.
I thought you were going to say you're going to accept that hot tag and nobody's going to cheer because it's a pandemic. Alrighty, everybody. Well, that's the stuff we're going to talk about for this. Obviously, the next time that we're going to be hearing, you're going to be hearing from us, I should say, is going to be that whole NXT TakeOver in your house post show coming up on Sunday night. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for the live coverage and everything else that's happening there. All the stuff that I'm going to put up on Bleacher Report and eWrestling News and blah blah blah. I've done most of my plugs. I'm going to pass this over to you to talk about your blah blah blahs.
My blah blah blahs. Yes, I will be on live coverage for Fightful during NXT TakeOver in your house. So if you would like to read my articles while you're in your house, you can check out Fightful.com. I also strongly advise you subscribe to Fightful Select for exclusive early breaking news, like the stuff that you read on the crappier sites. Get them directly from Sean. Sean works really hard on getting these stories, and boy, they're always good ones. So check out Fightful.com. I'm also on WrestleZone.com. And Callum and I will be starting our Paul Heyman's SmackDown retrospective series later this month. So get prepared to hop back in that DeLorean with us and head to the year of 2002. Not a Space Odyssey. Thank you. Tony.
And yeah, just keep doing whatever you're doing. Keep showing your support for all the stuff, and we'll keep thanking you for that. And keep staying safe. Keep trying to be a good person in this world. It's harder and harder these days, but keep trying. And follow this on Facebook and Twitter at Smark on Moment. Follow me at Tony Mango. Follow A Mango Tree. Follow Fanboys Anonymous. All that other kind of stuff there. Thank you for listening to us on any of these platforms. If you're listening to us on YouTube and you're not subscribed yet, do that. But we will see you when we see you, everybody. And for now, this has been another Smark Out Moment. And we're being counted out.